Okay guys, so welcome back again. So in this video, we'll be making a full stack application. For the front end, we'll be using React.js, and for the back end, we'll be using Nodejs Express application. And the thing which we are going to build is Twitter trends. So basically Twitter trends means that is you would be getting the latest trends around the world or to a particular location, and the thing which you see inside these pills here are the trending topics around the world. Since I have selected here worldwide, so I am getting the trending topics all around the world, and the number here represents the tweet volume for each of the topics. So some have more tweet volume and others have less tweet volume. So now here we have a drop down here that is currently set to worldwide, and if I select this to India, then I would be seeing some other topics. So as we can see, the topics automatically changed here. So what it does is this, that the frontend makes a call to our backend's Express server, and it fetches the latest trending topics, and then it is displayed here inside the React application. So you can select as many, or you can have as many drop downs as you want to have here. And now here we have this thing here, that is the location button here. So if I click on this location thing here, then I would be getting the trending topics that are nearest to my position here, that is nearest to my latitude and longitude. So that is also what we are going to do. That is how to fetch the current location using the browser thing here. And one thing more, that is if you click on any of the pills here, that is if I click on Mirabai Chanu, who won the silver, so we see that we are taking to this Twitter page with that same trending topic as the search here, and then we are getting all the tweets regarding that trending topic here. So that is also what is done here, and it is like simply an anchor tag here. So without wasting any time, let's dive into code and let's see that how do we do all this. So now the first thing which you need to do is you need to create a developer account on Twitter, and creating a developer account on Twitter is kind of pain in ass. So I'm skipping the part here, that is to create a developer account. But for your information, you simply need to select the standard account and not the student account. And I've selected here the standard account, and I did not need to provide in any billing details of myself for creating a developer account on Twitter. So once you create a developer account on Twitter, your dashboard would look something like this, because here as we can see that I have not created any projects or any apps inside this developer dashboard here. So one thing to notice this, that Twitter has two versions of API, that is V2 and V1. But this Trends API uses the older version, that is V1.1, and that's what we are going to use. So just this thing you should remember, that is we are going to use version 1.1 because V2 is not available for Trends here. So the first thing which we need to do is let's go to this Twitter developers here. And now what you need to do, you do not need to click here to create a project, but instead you need to click here, that is projects and apps, to create a new project. And now let me click on overview. And now as we can see that we do not have anything here or any project created here. So what I would like to do is that I would like to create a standalone app here. So let's click here, that is create app. And then we need to give our app a name. So let me provide here Twitter trends or Twitter hyphen trends like this. And now let me click on next. And we see that the name is already taken. So let me suffix my name here, that is yours truly 2607. And now let me click on next. And now as we can see that we have this API key, we have the API secret, and we have the bearer token. But we are only interested in this API key and API secret. So what you need to do, you need to copy this API key somewhere, because otherwise you need to regenerate the API key. And don't worry about this guys, that is you cannot use these API keys, because till the time you're seeing this video, I would be deleting these API keys. So let me copy this API key and let me paste it somewhere in my dashboard here. So I'll use them later on. So let me copy this secret, that is API key secret. And now what I'll do, I'll simply click on this thing here, that is go to dashboard, or let me click on app settings here. So now this is my app settings here. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to this tab here, that is keys and tokens, because since we are not going to use OAuth here, so we would be generating an access token and access secret for this current account, that is the current logged in developer account here. So let me click on generate to generate an access token and secret here. So again, this is my access token. So let me copy it somewhere secure, and let me copy the access token secret as well, like this. And now let me click on yes, I saved them, because the next time you would need to generate the access token and access secret again. So let me click on this. Yes, I saved them. And that's all what you need to do inside this Twitter account or inside this Twitter developer account. And the next thing which we need to do is that we need to scaffold a full stack React application with Express as backend. So let's go to our terminal here. So here I am somewhere on my folder here, that is desktop tutorials. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new folder called make the Twitter trends. So now let me cd into this Twitter trends folder, and if we clear out the screen and let's have a look at ls here, we see that nothing is here inside this Twitter trends. So the first thing I need to do is that I need to create a backend application, and to scaffold a backend Express application, the easiest way is to use this package called Express Draft, because it is super simple to use, and we simply have to issue one command, that is exp or Express Draft, and then the folder name or dot for the current folder. So let's go back here. And now for the backend, I would be choosing the folder name to be backend. So I would do exp backend to scaffold a Express application inside this backend folder. And now it might take a couple of seconds or so to scaffold the Express application. And now it is done. And now if we have a look at ls here, we see that we have the backend folder here. And now before seeing that what's inside this backend folder, let me also scaffold a React application using the create React app package. And if you do not know anything about React, then you can go and watch my video, that is the beginner's crash course on React, and it is super simple to use. So I would be putting a link here somewhere here. So let me scaffold a React application here, and the folder name would be called frontend. So I would do npx create React app. The folder name is frontend, and then I would be using npm instead of yarn. So I am passing in this flag here, that is use npm. So let me press enter, and it will take a couple of seconds or a minute or so to scaffold a React application inside this folder called frontend. So let's fast forward this thing here. So finally it's complete, and it took a lot of time here, that is a minute or so. So now what I'm going to do, if we do ls here, we see that we have a folder called backend and we have a folder called frontend for the frontend application. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open both my root folder, that is called Twitter trends, inside VS Code. So I can do code dot to open it in VS Code, though you can use any text editor you like, but I'm using VS Code here. So let me open this folder inside VS Code. So here as we see that we have this folders, that is these folders backend and frontend. So let's try running them one by one, and let's see that if both the applications are up and working. So firstly what I need to do, I need to cd into the backend folder, and let me do npm run dev, and I'll explain it to you that what's all inside this backend folder. But let's see that if it is being able to run. So if I do npm run dev, then the application is started on port 3000. So if I go to this port here, that is localhost port 3000, so we get back a message called awesome, it works. So we see that our Express application is up and running. And now what I'll do, I'll stop this application and I'll go to up one folder, and then I'll cd into the frontend folder. And then what I'll do, I'll simply do npm start to start the React application. So now let me go here. And as we saw that our backend is running on port 3000 right now. So we'll be changing the port of our backend in a moment. But let's see that if our React application starts on port 3000. So now we see that our React application is also up and running. So let's go back to our VS Code here. And now let me stop this application. So now first have a look at the backend folder, because you all know that what's inside the frontend folder, it is all about React application. So let's have a look at the backend folder, and here we have a look at the package.json file. So we see that we have these dependencies here, that is .env express http errors for handling http errors, and then we have Morgan, that is a logger here, and then a dev dependency called nodemon, which restarts the application on file changes. And here we have two scripts, that is the start script to start the application using Node, and a dev script which we use to start the application using nodemon. And if we have a look at the app.js file, this is the basic Express application that is scaffolded by that Express draft package. And that's all what we have here. That is, we required the Express thing, then we required other dependencies, then we initialized the Express application, then we have two routes here, that is the index route here, and then we have our API route here, which is served by this file here, that is API route.js. So we see that kind of our application is completely scaffolded here. And then we have this middleware here, and then we have the error handler here, and then we see that our application starts by default on port 3000, and then we start listening on this port here. So firstly, what I need to do, I need to change the port of my backend application, that is the Express application. So we can go to the .env folder here, and instead of port 3000, let me start this application on port 4000. And now let me close this .env file. And now as we saw that to start the backend application and the frontend application, we need to cd into the individual folders, and then we needed to do npm start or npm run dev for the backend. So why not let's start them concurrently. So to start the applications concurrently, what we need to do, we need to install a package called concurrently. But before doing that, let me cd into my root folder, that is my main folder here, which contains all the other two folders, that is the backend and frontend. So now I am inside this folder that is called Twitter Trends, and this is the contents of this folder here, that is backend and frontend. And now what I'm going to do is this, that I'm going to initialize a new npm project inside this folder that is called Twitter Trends, not the backend folder, not the frontend folder, because they both contain a npm initialized project. So I'm inside my root folder, and in this folder I'm going to initialize a new project here, a new npm project. So let me clear out, and now I'll do npm init -y to keep all the defaults. And what it will do, it will simply generate a package.json file, as we can see here. So this is the basic package.json file which we for this npm init created. And now inside this folder or inside this package.json file, that is npm package as a whole here, I would like to install a dependency called concurrently. So I would do npm I, or let me clear out the screen once again, and I would do npm I concurrently. And let's go here on this page here, that is concurrently page. So you can have a look at this npm package, and they have different ways to start both the applications concurrently. But what I'm going to show you would be the easiest way for you to work with this concurrently package. And this concurrently package can be used in a different ways, but the way I'm going to use it is only a single way to use it. So now the package has been installed. If we have a look here, we see that concurrently is installed on our package.json file, which is installed on my root folder that contains the backend and the frontend folder. And now here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a script here inside this package.json file, and that would be called dev script here. So let me call it dev. And now what I need to do, I need to start both the applications using concurrently package. So I would say concurrently, and then I need to start two applications. So I'm putting in two single quotes here. That is, one application would be started using the command in these quotes, and the second application would be started using the command in these quotes here. So for the front end, let's start the front end application here. So what we need to do to start the front end application, firstly, we need to cd into the front end folder. So we'll say cd front end, and then what we need to do, we need to simply do npm start here. For the backend application, what we need to do, we need to cd into the backend folder, and then what we need to do, we need to do npm run dev to use nodemon to start app.js inside the backend folder, that is to start this file here. So this is all what we need to do here. And now let me save the package.json file. And now what I'll do, I'll close this package.json file, and now let me pull up my terminal here and let me clear out the screen. So I should be clearing out here. And now what I need to do, I need to simply do npm run dev like this. And if everything I did was correct, then both the applications, that is the backend and front end, would be started concurrently. So the backend application started on port 4000. So let's go to localhost port 4000. So localhost port 4000. So we see that our backend application is up and working, as we can see, or we can verify with this message here. And for the React application, it should be started on port 3000, and it is started on port 3000. So this is how we start both the applications simultaneously. So now let me minimize the terminal here like this. And now firstly, what I need to do, I need to go to my front-end application. Let me minimize the backend here. So this is my front-end React application, and I need to do a couple of things here. Firstly, what I need to do, I need to remove the unnecessary files here. So for that, I'm going to remove this app.test.js file, and then I'm going to remove this logo, report web vitals, and setup test.js. So let me select all the three and let me simply delete these files here because we do not require them. And now let's go to our app.js first. So now here inside this app.js file, firstly, let me comment out this logo from here because I would be using another logo here, that is a Twitter logo. So why not let me simply copy the Twitter logo first from my repository here. So let me copy the twitter.svg file and let me simply paste it here inside the source folder. And this is the twitter.svg file. That is the Twitter logo here on in the completed application. If we can see that I'm talking about this logo here. So this is what we have copied here. So now this is the twitter.svg, and now let me uncomment this thing here, and instead of logo.svg it should be twitter.svg like this. And now let me save this. And now what I need to remove, let me go to index.js file, and since we deleted the report web vitals, so let me remove the import statement of report web vitals from here. And we also want to remove this comment here and report web vitals function here. So let me remove them as well. So if we save this and if we go back to our application, let me minimize the font size here a bit. So let's go to our application here, and if we reload here, we see that now we have a spinning Twitter logo here. So this is only the thing which we did as of now. So let's go back and now let's go to the app.js file. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this paragraph tag, anchor tag like this. And instead of here, what I like to do here, I like to provide an h3 here, which simply says Twitter trends like this. Let's save this. And now for the app.css, I'm simply going to copy some CSS from my repository here, because like it is no point of telling you each and everything about CSS because you can have your own CSS here, but this is my CSS, and if you want to use the same CSS, then you can find this app.css in my repository as well. And I've not made many changes here. I've made very simple and slight changes to the application here. So let me save this app.css here, and everything about CSS is complete. And let's go back to our application, and if we reload here, we see that we have this thing here, that is the spinning Twitter logo. So let's go back and let's fix this. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this class name from here because I do not want to have a class name called app logo, but instead what we have, we need to have a class name called logo, simply like this. And the alternate thing would be, or the alternate name would be Twitter like this. So let's save this, and I hope that this fixed the issue of spinning the Twitter logo here. And this somewhat looks similar to this completed application. So now what I am trying to do, or the next thing which we want to do is that I want to create the select box here, that is the select input, and this button here that looks like a button here which has a crosshair. So for the crosshair, what I'm going to use, I'm going to use a package called React Icons, so which contains different utility icons from Font Awesome, from material design icons, and hero icons and line icons. So it's a super easy package to use, that is called React Icons, and that's what we are going to use for this crosshair. So let's go back to our app here. So here what I'm going to do, let me open the terminal here, let me stop the application. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cd into the frontend folder because we are working on the React application as of now. And now I'm going to install this package called React Icons inside the frontend. And it might take a couple of seconds or so to install this package. So this is done, and now let me cd up one folder and let me start the application again by doing npm run dev. So let me minimize the terminal here. And now after the header thing, I would like to create a div with a class of menu. So div dot menu like this. And then firstly we want to have a select input, so I would say select, and the name would be trending place. So trending hyphen place is the name of this select input. And then for the ID, I'm going to omit the ID because we are not going to use the ID here. We would be handling the select input using the on change event. And then we need to have some options here. And then let me provide in a value of 1 here, and it should say worldwide. And now I'm going to explain it to you that why it is called 1 here, not any other number. So it is called worldwide. And now let me simply copy and paste some other options here. So let me copy and paste some other options here as well. And then I'll explain it to you that how these numbers are provided here. That is why India is this number, why New York is this number. Basically, the numbers which you see in these options or the values for each of the individual select inputs are called WOE IDs, that is WO IDs, and it means where on earth IDs. So let's go back to the Twitter developer portal here. So let's go to the trends API thing here. And now to get a trend for a particular place, we need to provide in some kind of a specific ID. And this ID is simply a WO ID, which is where on earth ID. And it is a legacy identifier created by Yahoo, and now it has been already deprecated. But Twitter API still uses the same WO ID to identify a place, town, or country to provide you with trending topics. So we have some example WO IDs here. That is for worldwide, it is one, as we can see here. For UK, we have this WO ID. For Brazil, we have this ID, and so on and so forth. And if you want to get the specific WO ID for your place or for something else, then for the current place, we are going to use an API provided by Twitter to get the WO ID. But for any other place for which you do not have any location data or something like that, then you can go to this website here, that is findmecity.com, and then you can have a look here to get the WO IDs for your place. So if I click on this top 10 on earth, then we see that the locality for New York, we have this WO ID. And then for Berlin or London, we have these WO IDs, and that's what you can use inside your drop down menu as we have created here. So for India, I simply use this WO ID. For Los Angeles, I choose this WO ID. For Mumbai, this is the WO ID, and so on and so forth. So let's save this application and let's see that this is the drop down it looks like as of now. So now we also want to create this button here, that is this button here. So let's go back to our application here, and here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a div with the class of location like this, and then inside this, we need to use the crosshairs thing. So that is the icon here. So for that, I'm going to use the font awesome icon package. So I'm going to import something from React icons /var for font awesome. And then what we need to import here, we need to import here far crosshairs. So I'm going to say far crosshairs like this. So now inside this div, what I need to simply put, in this thing here, that is far crosshairs that we just imported. And let's save this. And now we see, let me save this first. And now we see that our application has this this button here that looks like a location thing here. So now let's go back. And now whenever someone would click this button, then we need something to happen. So let me create an on-click event. So on-click equal to handle click, or let me call it handle location, because that is supposed to handle the location thing here. And this handle location function does not exist anywhere inside our app.js file. So let me create a function here, that is function handle location like this, and currently let it throw us an alert, that is handle location whatever it is. So let's save this. And now for the select input, we need to handle the on change event. So let me handle the on change event. So let me say on change, and then we have an event. And then what we want to have, let me simply make an alert as of now. So alert, and then I would simply paste in e.target.value just to alert the what has been selected or what value has been selected here. So let's save this. And now after this, we need to create this list here, that is this list here. So for that, I'm going to create a function here to create the list here. So it would be called function list trends to list all the trends here. And currently it would only return here as of now. Let me simply return here in h2, that is trends, like this. And now after this div here, that is just before the last div, I want to create another div here with a class name of content. So content, and here we are going to simply execute that function, that is list trend, to get a list of all the trends. So let's save this and let's go back to our application. And now we see that, oh, we have this thing ready. If I click here, we see that handle location alert is working. And if I change this, oh, we see that we are getting the value here. For the input we selected, or for the option we selected. So if I select on Mumbai, oh, we are getting this option here. That is the value of Mumbai here. So now, oh, we did a lot of work on the front end application. So now let's start working on the backend application. So for that, let me stop the application once again because I need to install a package inside my backend application. So let me cd into the backend folder and let me clear out. And now let me install one package here that is called npmi Twitter. Basically, it simplifies us to use the version 1.1 API. Otherwise, we can simply use API calls using this resource URL, but that is a kind of too tedious job to do. So I'm going to use a package here that is an npm package for Twitter, that is in Twitter, and it is called Twitter here. So let's go back here and let's install this package here. So again, it would take a couple of seconds or so to install. So it is already installed. So let me cd up one folder and let me simply start the application by doing npm run dev. So let me minimize the terminal here. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to close this app.js file. And now we start working on the backend folder here. That is this backend app here. So first thing we need to do, we need to have some environment variables here. That is required by this package and that we already copied before to initialize a new client here. So let's create a URL inside this routes file here firstly, and then we'll be pasting in the environment variables. So let's go to this API route.js file, and currently we see that we have only the index route for the API. So if we go to this route here, that is localhost port 4000, that is the backend application /API, then we see that we get this message here that is API is working. So firstly, inside this API route.js file, I need to create a couple of routes. So the first route I need to create is to get all the trends for a particular place, like this. And then I would be also creating a second route here, which would be getting the trend or the which would be getting me the Woo ID for the current place. So it simply says that is near me, near -me, to get the Woo ID for the current location. So let me make a comment here. That is this route gets the Woo ID for a particular location. Like if you provide in the lat long, that is latitude longitude, then it would fetch you the Woo ID using this route. And this route basically provides you with all the trends, that is to get trending topics, simply like this. And now to get the trending topics using this URL, what we need to pass here, we need to pass here a query parameter called ID here, or Woo ID here. So let's say that to this get route, we pass in a query parameter called Woo ID. So we can say const ID, it's a short form of Woo ID, would be request dot query dot Woo ID. Like this, to get the ID from the query parameters. And now before we can use this ID here, we need to initialize a new Twitter client using the package that we just installed. So firstly, I like to import the Twitter package here. So I'll say const Twitter equal to require Twitter, like this. And now I am going to initialize this Twitter client here using this import require statement. So I'll say const client, it should be spelled correctly. So client equal to new Twitter, like this. And then we need to pass in the consumer key, and it should be something. In a moment I'll fill it here. And then we have the consumer secret. Again, I'll be filling in that in a moment. And then we have the access token key. Again, I'll be filling it in a moment. And then we have the access token secret. And again, I'm going to fill it in a moment. And these all variables would be coming from the env file. And currently, as we see that we do not have any environment variables. So firstly, let me provide in the Twitter consumer API key, the API secret, like this. On the next line, the Twitter access token and the Twitter access secret. So let me paste it on another line. So for the API key, let me copy my API key here, like this. For the secret, let me copy the secret here, and don't worry, you cannot use these secrets here, though it is out in open, because the app would be already deleted till the time you see the video here. And this was like this here. And then for the secret, access token secret, let me copy the access token secret and let me paste it here. And again, if you have forgotten about these secret and API keys, then what you can do, you can go back to a Twitter developer portal here, and you can simply regenerate the API key and secret, and you can also regenerate the access token and secret. So basically, consumer API key is same as this API key and secret. So let's save this, and now let me go to my API route.js file, and now here what I'll do, I'll paste in those environment variables. So process.env dot let me copy, let me open it side by side. That is, this should be opened here. So it was Twitter API key like this, and now let me copy this thing from here and let me paste it here a couple of times, and I'll be fixing it in a moment. So this was the secret here, this was the token here, and this was the secret again here. So let me close this window here. So now we have the client initialized here. And now to get the trends using this Twitter client, what I'll do, I'll use this ID which we get from the query parameters, and I'll say const trends equal to await. I'm going to use async and await here, no promises. So client dot get, and then I'm going to pass in the URL from where to get, and it is called trends / place .json like this. And then we need to pass in the query parameter here as well for this URL, and that would be an ID here like this, and ID would be ID, and since we are using modern JavaScript, so we can simply omit the second thing here. Simply like this. And finally, we are going to send back this trends to our client, that is our browser. So let's save this thing from here. And for now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply pass here ID equal to 1, just to see if this trends route is working or not, or this Twitter client is properly initialized or not. So what I needed to do is that on my backend directly, I'm going to access this route, that is /API /trends. So let's keep our fingers crossed and let's see that if we are able to do so. So /API /trends would get me the latest trends worldwide here. And as we can see that we are able to get the latest trends all around the world. That is because one is for worldwide, as we already know. And this is all what we have, what is returned from that API here. And if you're wondering that where this trends place.json came from, it simply came from this this page here for the trending API. That is, this is the URL to get all the trending topics for a particular place. That is, we need to make a call to this trends place.json. And this part of the URL, that is this part of the URL, is already handled by that package. That is the Twitter package that we just installed. So now we see that we are getting back a list of trends inside an array here. So that doesn't matter. We can use that array inside our front-end React application, but we are sure that this is working here. If we go back here, and now let me change this ID to use the query ID here. So let's go back, and now let me hard code a query parameter here, that is who ID equal to this ID that is for India here, and let me press enter here, and we see that now we get the trending topics near India or around India. So let's go back and we see that this route is pretty much working here, that is the trends route. And now what I need to do, I need to get the Woo ID near this place, or let's do that later on. Let's see that, let's see how to get this working, or this backend with the front end thing. So let's integrate them both. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to open my front-end application, and now let me go to the app.js file, because that's the whole place where our logic resides. And now what I need to do, I need to import a couple of things here. Firstly, I need to use state, and I also need to use effect. So let me import them both, that is use state, not like this. So use state and use effect from React, like this. And now I'm going to make two state variables here. That is, let me do it this way. That is use state. And the first state variable would be trends. That would contain the actual trending topics. And the initial state would be an empty array here. And then I would like to create another state variable here. that is the Vue ID. So I'll say Vue ID and set Vue ID, and the initial state would be a string 1 here. That is for the worldwide here. And now I need to create a use effect hook here, or I need to use the use effect hook, that is use effect. And here it would be only one dependency, that would be Vue ID. That is whenever this Vue ID changes, fire this effect here. And what I need to do inside this use effect hook, I need to simply get all the trends that is regarding or using this Vue ID. So I'll simply call this function here, that is get trends. But we do not have this function here, that is get trends. So what I need to do, I need to create this function here, that is function get trends like this. And inside this get trends function, I'm going to make an API call to my backend server. So for that, I need to use Axios here. So let me stop this application once again. And let me cd into the frontend folder. And let me install Axios to make API requests. You can use request also, you can use fetch also, but I prefer to use Axios. So let me install Axios here. So once it is done, it won't take long. So let's cd backup one folder and let's start the application once again. And it should be started in a moment. And now what I need to do, I need to import Axios here. So I'll say, so let's go back. So import Axios from Axios like this. And now I need to make a call to my API. So axios.get. And then I need to make a call to HTTP localhost 4000, because our API server is running on port 4000 /API/trends. This is the URL of our front end of our backend application. And then we get back a response. So we can say response. And then we can do something with that response. And then if there is an error, we can cache the error and we can simply console log the error. That is console.log error.message. That is whatever the error is there. So now to use Axios like this, or let me show you that what will happen here. And for now, let me simply console log the data here. That is console.log response.data, because in Axios, response.data would be containing the actual data here. So let's save this, and this request is going to fail because of course issue. So let's go back here and let me minimize the size here. So now let's reload the page here and let's right click and click on inspect here. And if we open the console here, we see that we do not see anything here. So the API call is not going through. So let's go back here and let's try to reload the page once again, and let's go back and let's open the terminal here. And we see that we are getting some kind of unhandled promise rejection warning, and it is coming somewhere from our API route file here. So this is because that inside this route, that is the trends route, we expect a Vue ID to be present inside the query, and from our app.js file, we are not passing any query parameter here. So one thing to note is this, that you always need to, whenever you are using async and await, then this await should always be inside the try and catch block. So let's do that here, that is try catch. And now everything should be inside try block, and finally we need to catch the error here. That is what is meant by this unhandled promise rejection warning. And whenever we catch the error, we are simply going to say next error here, because our app.js file is already handling this error case here using this this thing here, that is app.use. So let me minimize the terminal here. So this is the error handler here. So I can directly call in next with the error parameter inside my catch block. And now if I save this and if I go to this file here again, and if we make a request again, we see that we are getting this error here. And I was expecting this error, that is access control origin. That is access control allow origin, and that is a course issue because our front end is running on port 3000 and our backend is running on port 4000. So we need to have a way somewhere, that is either we have two ways here. Either we can use course on our Express server using the course package, or for development purposes, what I can do, I can proxy each and every request, that is each and every URL that is not handled by the React application, to be proxied to our backend server. So to do that, what we need to do, let's go back to our application here, and inside the package.json file of our front-end application, that is the React application, I need to provide in one more key value pair here, and that is proxy. So just before the dependency, let me simply type in proxy. So this is the second way which I'm telling you. That is, the first way is to simply use the CORS package on your backend. That is the Express server using app.use CORS. But that is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to proxy my request from my React application to my backend. And the proxy path will be HTTP / localhost port 4000, simply like this. So now let me save this package.json file. And now what I need to do, I need to stop this application once. So let me stop this application and let me start this application once again. That is both the applications again. Since we made a change to the package.json file, so we needed to start the application once again. So now let me close this package.json file because it is not required to be open anymore. And now if we go back here, we see that now we do not get that error here anymore. That is, and we still see this error because now inside our URL, that is the URL which we are using to make a request, should not be like this. It should be only /API entrance. And since this URL is not handled by React application, so it would be proxied to localhost port 4000 using the proxy parameter that we specified in package.json file. And now if we have a look here, let's reload. And now we see that our status failed and we are not getting any more scores error here. And we see that the request failed with status code 500. And that is very true because we haven't provided any query parameters here from the front-end application. So now to provide in the parameters, that is the query parameter, which is expected by this route here, that is request.query.void. So we need to provide this as a query parameter. So we can say axios.get the route here and then curly braces. And here we can simply say parems. And then the parems we like to provide here would be void, simply like this. And this void is a state variable here, that is void. So let me copy this void and I can say void like this. So let's save this and let's go back to our application. And now if we reload, we might be getting a response back and we can see this here. That is, this is the response here. And this is an array of 50 trends here. That is, this is what we are getting back. And now what I like to do, let me go back once again to my application. And since we are using modern JavaScript again, so I can simply omit the second void here and it works the same way. So let me minimize the terminal here. And now we see that we are getting back the trends here, as we can see, and it is an array here. As we can see with we have an array object. So what we need to do, we need to go back to our application. So once we get back the response here, so what we need to do, we need to set the trends, which is a state variable again here. That is, this trends is a state variable here with an empty array. So we like to set the trends here using the response.data thing. So we can say set trends. And here we can say response.data 0 like this, because this is an array itself and the first value of the array is this thing here. And then we like to access the trends here, that is from that 0th object we like to access the trends. So we can say response.data.0 and then trends, simply like this. And now if we save this, our trend array or this trends state variable would contain the actual trends which we are expecting here, that is these trends. And now what we need to do, we need to loop through each of the trends and we like to map it inside a list. So let's do that. So once the trend has been set, let me comment out this log statement from here. And now once the trends has been set, we can use this function here, that is list trends, which currently only shows an h2 here. So now let me fix up this this function here, which should return a unordered list here. So I would say return, and then let me remove this stuff from here and I'll return a UL here. So instead of this, let me return a UL, that is an unordered list. And here I would like to map through all the trends. So I would say trends.map. And then here we have the individual trend, that is a trend. And then we have the index of the trend. And this is what we are going to map like this. And here what we like to return, we like to return an li here. So I can say li, that is an li tag with a key of index. So key index. And this is one of a bad ways of using index as the key for your React list, because it is like continuously changes, because you should always choose the key to be unique. But in this trends array, what I have seen that we do not find a unique value inside any of the individual trends here. That is, if I have a look at individual trends here, you can say that this name is a unique here, but sometimes what happens here is this, that you might get two trending topics with the same name and the same URL and the same tweet volume. So therefore, I'm forced to use index as my key here. And then inside this li, I would like to create an anchor tag with an href to trend.url. So trend.url. And the thing it should say would be trend.name. So trend.name like this, because each individual trend has name, query, tweet volume, and a URL. So we are using this name, tweet volume, and this URL. So let's go back here again. And then this thing is done here inside the anchor tags. And now I would like to optionally display in the tweet volume, because if we have a look at the completed application, we see that some of the trending topics does not have a tweet volume. They are as provided as null. We can also verify it here on our result here. That is, some of the trends might have null as a tweet volume. So therefore, firstly, we need to check whether there is a tweet volume present. So we can say trend.tweetVolume. So tweet underscore volume. And if it is present, then we would like to output a span tag here. That is a span. Let me make a space here. So span like this. And here the class name should be tweet volume. So class name would be equal to tweet volume. And these class names are only for styling purposes and nothing else. And then it should say trend.tweetVolume. So let me copy it and let me paste it here. Simply like this. So now if I save this application and let's go back to our application here. So let me close the sidebar here. So we see that we are getting back a list here. And this thing that is the styling of this tweet volume is not working. So let's fix it. So so instead of a dash, it's an underscore here. So let's save this. And now if we go back to our application, we see that now we have this thing here. So let me minimize the font size. And now we see that if we reload the page, we are getting the trending tweets all around the world. And if we click on any of them, we are taken to Twitter with that search query here. So that is on the Twitter page for the trending topic here. So let's go back. And now what we need to do, we need to handle this select input. That is currently, it simply displays in alert. So let's set the Vue ID according to the select input. So let's go here. That is, we are here. That is where we are showing an alert. So instead of showing in an alert with the Vue ID, I would like to simply say set Vue ID. And then we get the Vue ID from event.target.value. So that's all what you need to do. And as soon as the Vue ID changes, we have an effect here that would rerun this get trends. And now we would be sending the param as the new Vue ID that has been selected, and we would be getting the response accordingly. So let's say save this file again and let's go back. And now let me reload the page. So we have it for the worldwide. So now let's select India. And now we see that now we get a response back again with the new Vue ID or with the new topics according to the Vue ID selected or the place selected here. So this is how we handle the select input. And now the last part of this application remains is to handle this location object here. That is this location button. That is when someone clicks on this location, then we should be displaying topics or the trending topics near this location here. So let's click on OK as of now here. So let's go back to our application. And now inside the handle location thing where we are showing in the alert, let me get the location first from the browser or from the navigator. So we'll check if navigator dot get geolocation, that is if the navigator has the geolocation property, or if we are able to get the geolocation from the navigator, that is our browser, then we would like to do something else. What we like to show, or we can simply make an alert that is no geolocation not supported. So we can make an alert here. So here we can simply say geolocation not supported like this. And now when we have a geolocation object present inside our navigator, we can simply issue this, we can simply use this thing here, that is navigator dot geolocation dot get current position like this. And then inside this thing, we have two things. That is the success block, which would get us the location, and the error block or the error callback here. So position like this. And then we have the second thing also, that is the second callback here, that is the error callback. So we can say error, and then we handle the error accordingly. So for the error, let me simply log the error here, that is console.log error.message like this. And now if we have the location, what I'm going to do, I'm simply going to log the position here for now. So position like this. And now let me save this application. And now let's go back to our application in the browser. And now let's reload the page. And now let me right click and click on inspect to see the console here. Now let me clear out the console. So once I click on this button here, the first time we see that we are getting this geolocation position over these coordinates. And if this is the first time you are using geolocation on this URL, that is localhost port 3000, you might be getting a pop-up here which would say that is allow localhost port 3000 to access location on this device or on this browser. Then you need to simply click on allow. But I've already done that, so I'm not getting that pop-up here, and instead I'm simply getting the geolocation here. So here we can see that is inside this object here, that is a position object, I am simply getting the coordinates as well here. That is inside this quads thing here. And we have the latitude and we have the longitude as well from the quads thing. That is inside the position, we have the quads, and inside the quads, we have the latitude and we have the longitude. So let's use that latitude and longitude to get the VU ID to this current place. So now what we can say, we can make another call here to our backend server, that is this API route.js file. And here using this route that is near me, I'm going to simply fetch the VU ID that is related to this latitude and longitude. I want to send here a parameter with latitude and longitude as the query here to this route here that is near me. So let's go back to our application or to our app.js file. And here I would like to make a request, that is axios.get /API /near me to get the VU ID. And then I would like to pass in an object containing the params. And the params would be simply latitude, that is lat, and it would be long, that is for the longitude. And the latitude, I can get it from the position object here with the quads thing. And then the latitude that is present inside quads, as I already showed you. And now let me copy it and let me paste it. And instead of the latitude, let me provide in the longitude here like this. And then when this request is completed, then we would be getting back a response. So then response, and I would do something with the response in a moment. And then let me catch the thing here, that is the error if there is any. So console.log error.message like this. And for the response thing, let me simply log the response here, that is console.log response.data, because the data contains the actual data that is coming back from the response in Axios. So let's save this. And now let's handle this params, that is latitude and longitude, on our backend server. So let's go to our API route.js. And the first thing I would like to do is that I would like to wrap each and every stuff inside a try catch block, so that we can easily handle the errors. So next error. And now let me remove this send from here. And the first thing inside this thing, I would like to get the latitude and longitude from the query. So I would say const lat comma long equal to request dot query like this. And then I would be using the same Twitter client to get the VU ID or the place from this latitude and longitude. So I would say const response equal to await client dot get, and here it would be trends / closest dot json. And again this URL, that is trends closest dot json, comes from this thing here, that is Twitter from this thing here, that is from the API thing. And here we have this place.json, and you might be finding here somewhere that is to get API reference, maybe somewhere here I could get. So closest, and you can search it here, but it is closest.json as far as I know. So I'm simply using closest.json, and the URL looks pretty much the same thing as this thing here, that is this URL. So this is something else. So This is what I've used here. That like this thing to get the trending topics, and this is to get the current place here. That is closest.json. And now here I would like to pass in two parameters here. That would be latitude, and since we are using modern JavaScript, I can simply do this thing here. That is, instead of this, I can simply pass in lat here, and then we can simply pass in long here like this. And now what I like to do, I like to simply send back the response. So I can say response.send response like this, not resize to, but response, maybe like this. So it is misspelled here. So it's response here and it's response like this. So let me save this now. And now let's go back to our application and let's open our application here. And let me clear out the screen once again. So now what I'll do, I'll reload the page once again. And let me clear out the console once again. So now let me click on this button here. And now we get back something here. And that contains the actual country code, name, parent ID, place type, URL, and then we have the VOID here in which we are interested. So we see that we need to go inside the zeroth object, JSON object here inside the response, and then we need to access the VOID on the front end. So what we can do, we can go back to our application and let's go to our app.js file. And then inside this response.data, I like to access the zeroth object, and then I would like to access the VOID to get the VOID like this. So let me save this and let's go back to our application once again. So let me again click on this button here, and now we see that we are getting this VOID here. And now what I will do is that I would simply use this VOID to be set as the new VOID using this thing here, that is using set VOID to set the state variable of VOID. So let's go here, and now what I'll do, I'll simply say set VOID, and the VOID would be this VOID that is coming back from our API server. So let me paste it here. So let's save this application. Let's go back and let's reload the page once again, and let me close the terminal here. And now if I click on this button, then I would be getting the trending topics near my place. So let's click here. So we see that now we are getting these topics here with the tweet volumes included. And if I click on any of the tabs here or any of the pills here, so let's click on proud of you. Then we are taken to the Twitter page with that search query here. So now guys, that's all about this application, and the application is complete. So if you have liked the video, do hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for future updates. So thank you, bye bye, tata, take care and have a good day and have a great day.